Mr. Doug Martin will lead the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Doug. We'll need a roll call to determine if we have a quorum, please.
Alderperson Ron Fruit.
Here.
Alderperson Karen Tupley.
Here.
Alderperson Tom McCarthy.
Here.
Alderperson Rachel Schultz. Here. Alderperson Melanie Walters. Here. Alderperson Douglas Martinek.
Here.
Alderperson Steve Downs is absent, and Alderperson Ryan Cairns.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thanks. Was this meeting properly noticed?
Yes, this meeting was properly noticed. The agenda was posted on Friday, and the amended agenda was posted before 4:30 yesterday afternoon.
Thank you very much. Next up will be approval of the agenda. Please take a minute to review. We did have one item that needs to come off. Is that right? Which one?
Number 12.
Number 12, thank you. So please remove number 12. Any other necessary changes, please point them out. Otherwise, entertain a motion to approve the agenda with item 12 removed.
So moved.
Motion from Ms. Schultz. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second from Mr. Fruit. Any discussion of the agenda? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. The agenda is approved. Next up, approval of the minutes. Again, once you've had a few minutes to read through those, entertain a motion to approve.
I move the minutes be approved as written.
Excuse me, motion from Mr. Fruit. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second from Mr. Martin. Any discussion of the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any idea what's that?
There you are.
Yeah, somebody's unmuted coming through. The folks that are online, one of you is not muted.
I muted them.
Okay, now we're muted. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. A motion and a second, and there's no further discussion. All in favor of approving the minutes, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
None. Okay, minutes, that one's carried, minutes are approved. Next up, department head reports and concerns. Who's got the microphone?
Darcy.
Look at him throw that thing around. Mr. Glassbrenner.
Just a little bit, I guess I'll comment about Public Works. Right now, we're, as you know, working on capital improvement planning because there's a capital improvement portion of the budget that the council will be revisiting here shortly. The team is working on some fabricating, updating equipment, repairing equipment, things of that nature. They've come up with a couple of pretty ingenious ideas to attach weed eaters to our zero-turn mowers, so they're doing some in-shop fabrication. We're doing a lot of outdoor, we're calling it the Rob Shop now, which is our streets building, a lot of yard update, cleaning, reorganizing, things of that nature. Of course, we had the snowstorm come through. The guys are also out working hard on potholes, which are always terrible this time of year and throughout the winter. We are working on, as well from the Public Works element, the airport master planning process. We have been in touch with the Bureau of Aeronautics this week and last week, and we're hopeful that our master planning process will be kicking off shortly. You can tell probably through our buildings and grounds and our streets departments, they're doing a ton of brush removal, like along the Pine River, around softball fields and trimming trees up. So I would be surprised if people that are walking the trails aren't noticing how much of an improvement there is with regard to tree pruning and things of that nature. I did want to let people know that you'll notice that there is a barrier or an orange cone, hopefully it's lit at this point, in the middle of Court and Main. It's not lit yet? Not yet. Okay, so we're working on getting that lit, but there is a not a pothole, a manhole for our storm sewer system that is settling, and it's due to usually some expansion spacers that are used to raise that the manhole cover up flush with the pavement, and so our spacers are compressing and being disintegrated. So We are working as quickly as we can to figure out what the resolution to that is going to be. It likely will be for some time a piece of 1-inch thick safety steel that will be mounted to the pavement, so we'll make sure that tires aren't damaged and there's not, further damage to the pavement and to the storm sewer system. So, and I think we are actively planning, and I think it's important that we continue to mention the closure of the landfill area transfer station. So that will be closing at the end of March, and we are working on new fencing and access procedures so that people are still able to dump their brush and leaves and things of that nature, but we will no longer be taking refuse up in the valley, and it is not allowed to be dumped down in the area where we allow brush and leaves to be dumped. So we are working hard on trying to make sure that the public is aware of that and creating systems in public works so that we're able to gate, and we will be monitoring it with video cameras. So we already see some people get frustrated, the landfill's not open, they'll dump garbage in our brush piles, and that's not acceptable. So hopefully we'll have a smooth transition. There is a lot of data out there, and we have recognized that this will be a shift for people, but we have offered alternative locations for taking your trash and refuse to, for example, the transfer station Lone Rock. It's a little bit more of a distance, but and or Boscobel will take it. So I think that's a good update from the Public Works perspective. Thank you.
Thank you. Misty, anything coming up soon in the clerk's office? Anything we should be concerned about at all?
So we do have an upcoming election.
We do have an election.
We do. So the election is on April 7th, and so a couple of dates to note, I guess. March 17th will be the first set of absentee ballots will be mailed out for anybody who has a current absentee request on file. We have about 200 of those as of right now. And then March 18th, we'll be doing a poll worker training. And then March 24th is the first day for absentee voters to vote in person at the clerk's office. It's not really early voting, it's just absentee voting in person. So I guess the other thing is we are in need of poll workers. So if anybody is interested, or anybody knows somebody who would be interested, please have them get a hold of the clerk's office, and we'll get in touch with them to set up some training and figure out if they want to do it.
Thank you. Public Servant Jones retrieving him on the phone. Gonna go with Jody Meehan. What's new in the parks, Jody?
We are currently refining our activity guide for summer programs. It will go to print March 30th. We're investigating a possible hybrid virtual possibility for those. We would like to go more of a web-based registration system. Right now we are not affording that, and so hopefully with the change over with the virtual guide, maybe we can afford that instead. So we're researching that. Our men's basketball league finished up regular season on Sunday, and we are into week 1 of tournament coming up. And if you know of a ref that is interested in helping us out ref tournament games, we need this Sunday and next. We are also working on pool startup logistics, planning a end of season dive-in movie luau for our pass holders and probably everyone actually. So looking at the logistics of doing that, and then we have an Arbor Day celebration coming up on April 22nd at the Community Center. Our forester is going to be giving away trees for anyone that is interested in free seedlings. The library will be there. They'll have relevant forestry books to check out. We will be there, of course. And then the DNR will be there doing a talk. He'll have a presentation. And then we are going to do a happy little 5K run for the trees at 5:30. It's a virtual event put on by Lansing, Michigan, DNR. And you can sign up online, but we're just going to start at the community center and run a 5K route. And then, you know, if you want to get dressed up like Bob Ross, you're welcome to do that. So, you know, and then we can post on their website. We also have a Diamond Joe trip coming up on the 26th. So if anyone wants to go gamble with us, that's happening. And then we're going to be CPR certified tomorrow, re-upping that, the girls in the office, so.
I saw online, looking for people to work this summer.
Yes.
Somebody wants to work in the parks, in the aquatic center, what should they do?
You can stop down here, get an application, stop at my office and get an application, or look online. Basically, it's everywhere. We've been posting online. I'm putting ads in the Observer and the Shopping News this whole month, so they can get their apps in. We need lifeguards, we need pool concessions, and rec coaches. So we do have some returners, but that is what we need.
Thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Gold, what's up in utilities?
Good evening. Continue with the AMI electric and water install. Meters going really well. 2,100 electric are installed, 850 water. Water and wastewater have been working together with 2 crews, and appreciate everybody letting them in as they've been knocking, trying to get those done. Just a couple things. Received notification last week that the electric utility received the Diamond Safety Award. The award's from the APPA Safety Award, recognizes utilities with low incident rates and overall state of their safety program and culture each year. We are based on how many hours we work. We combined about 14,000 hours in the field, and that's the highest recognition nationally you can get in that category. Also received from the APPA good news about public power. I think we all know that it's reliable, besides a few squirrels we got in town, but nationwide we're 17% cheaper than IOUs, co-ops, and locally, just looking at the numbers, we're about 30% cheaper. So that's a good thing for public power. Working on an MOU with Sextonville Water and Sewer District. They had a water main break. We were over there helping them. Saw some safety concerns and wanted to make sure we're covering the utility in the city with doing work for our neighbors. So going to have Michael look at that, but I've got that put together and going to complete that. Also from the water, looking at 2 projects this summer that are out for bids. Pipe bursting on Valley View and over by Karen's Addition off West Seminary, where we've had our biggest breaks and issues, looking to clean them up. So those are out for bids right now. All of us are completing our PSC reports, water and electric, DNR reports, and parts of our audit. And that's what's going on in the utilities.
Thanks, Scott. Mr. Billy Jones.
Good evening. So Richland Center Police Department, just wanted to bring you up to date on our February monthly report. Of calls for service was 149 for the month of February. 16 criminal arrests, 5 ordinance citations or ordinance arrests issued, 3 juvenile citations, 13 traffic citations, and 3 warrant arrest probation pickup violations. Revenue from parking violations and miscellaneous charges was $4,170.42. Had not received our court-ordered payments yet from the clerk of court, so I'm not sure how much we collected there. Otherwise, business as usual as the police department. We are fully staffed now at the police department, which I'm extremely happy with that. So we've got Sergeant back on night shift, starting to pick up some extra tasks, extra duties, we are about to release a posting to start building an eligibility list for police officers. Just trying to get ahead of the hiring process if and when that comes needed.
Thanks, Billy. Ashley.
Yeah, I'd just like to update you tonight on the ambulance. So since the last meeting, the county has hired a firm to study the ambulance service, and individual as well as group meetings have been made available. I have met with that firm to discuss the ambulance service, as well as attended county facilitated meetings between the municipalities to talk about the future of the ambulance service. The last meeting I felt was a very, very good meeting, in so much as the consensus from the participants there was that there was a strong belief that it was necessary for a county-wide ambulance service to exist into the future. And as I understand, that will be discussed by the county's Executive and Finance Committee meeting on the 10th. And then the next meeting for the municipalities participating in these discussions is March 24th at 6 p.m. So if anybody on council would like to join, I know Mr. Martinick was there last time. If anybody else would like to attend, you are welcome.
And Ashley, on that point, so obviously the city of Richland Center and Village of Boaz, each township, each municipality obviously fully intends to provide ambulance service for their people. And one of the main reasons people believe there should be a countywide service is because if not, then who? So for instance, Marshall Township, who do they call if they need to hire an ambulance? And they're going to need to hire an ambulance. So that kind of gets to the heart of the discussion. And then just the other part is adequate funding is much easier to get to when it's a countywide service. Do you agree with that?
I could not agree more.
Thank you. It's almost as though we've discussed this a few times. Okay, thank you very much. All right, I think I got every department head that's in attendance. Did I miss anybody? All right. Next up would be the mayor and all the persons, committee, commission, board reports, updates, and requests for future agenda items. I'll start immediately to my right, Rachel Schultz.
I have nothing tonight, thank you.
Tom McCarthy.
Thank you.
Karen Tepley.
A couple things, Mayor. First, for future agenda items, I think we had talked about this one other time, but I think I asked during budget season, so it probably wasn't the best time to ask. But to have running to do a report here for council with the transit. So if we could do that, that would be great. And if it's not, this is election time, so not this next meeting after would be great. And then ad hoc council rules, we continue to meet. We'll have 2 meetings this month so that we can do our best to wrap that up for council to take a good look at it before April. And then from the library board, we are in the process of doing strategic planning, so I hope everyone had a chance to take a look at the survey that they had out so that we know what you all are thinking. And then library again is participating in the Check Out Wisconsin State Parks at Your Library program. So it's a one-time daily pass admission to any state park, and they're available to patrons now. And then there's also an effort to improve signage in the children's room and teen area. And then it's been ongoing, so if you have a chance, go take a look at the new signage.
Thanks, Karen. Mr. Ronford.
Mr. Mayor, I'm joining several other community residents as a part of the Richland School District Strategic Planning Steering Committee. And our job is to create community awareness leading up to the Richland School District Community Conversation. And that will be 2 opportunities in April. And the desire, I think, that we all have is that we have the best school for our students as parents and grandparents, but also that taxpayers are receiving the best opportunity they have for the investment that they make. And part of my responsibility is to create awareness and make sure community participates. And all of you, as fellow alders, your participation would certainly be appreciated, as well as the community as well. Those dates will be Sunday, April 26th and Wednesday, April 29th, and more information will be forthcoming, but it's hoped that many will attend and provide input.
Thank you, Ron. Melanie Walters.
I have nothing tonight, thank you.
You bet. Doug Martinick.
I have nothing tonight.
And Ryan Cairns.
Nothing tonight, Mayor, thank you.
Okay, I've got a couple of things. First of all, yes, the Highway 14 East project is actually going to happen this year. We'll be out to meet with some folks from the city, and I presume the county as well, in a few days to give them all an update, and then we'll have a more comprehensive update for the public. They committed to this, I think, 2 years ago, and they are coming out to give more details in a few days, correct? Okay, and then we can provide the public with more information, but yes, they will be doing that. And I believe it is the Highway 80 and 14 intersection east to basically Walmart, is that correct, Scott? That area will be resurfaced, provided new surface this year, new guardrails, new storm sewers. Last I heard, they were going to remove all of the islands and make that center area a turning lane all the way down. And that was the last update that I had. Okay, also, last week, 3 of us went to Washington, D.C. to represent Richland Center at the Public Power Association Legislative Rally, an event that's been held for many years. I know at least twice in the past. Mr. Rod Perry attended representing the city when he was president of the Utility Commission. At least one of those times, Mr. John Collins went with him when John was an older person serving on the commission. This time I went with Mr. Scott Gall, the utility manager, and Mr. John Collins, who's back on the Utility Commission, has been for a couple of years. It's a 3-day event out there, and while we were there, we met with a lot of other community leaders in the area, mayors from, for example, Lodi, Westby, Sun Prairie, Columbus, a lot of them, members of representatives from WPPI, where the city gets its power from. And we also were granted 15-minute meetings with Representative Van Orden in his office, with Congressman Ron Johnson in the Capitol, and with Senator Tammy Baldwin in one of the congressional hearing rooms in the Senate office building. Free advice: if you go to Capitol Hill, don't wear baggy pants, you take your belt off a lot for security checks. When you put your ID away, don't tuck it too far because you'll pull that back on. And free advice to the mayor of Lodi: do not take a backpack through the security check.
Oh.
We didn't see her for a while. I just wanted to point out that I thought the representation Richland Center had at the event was outstanding. Mr. Gall and Mr. Collins were very well prepared. I want the public to know that both of our senators and Representative Congressman Van Orden treated all of us with respect, gave us the 15 minutes they promised us in each case, looked us all in the eye and answered our questions. There was no partisanship, there was no they did it or we won't do it. All 3 of them did their jobs very well, and I felt like we were heard. And they asked us what we needed, we told them what we were there for, and the primary point is, Mr. Gold just gave you some numbers on communities that have public power versus those that don't, and the short answer is rates are lower if you have public power, and significantly so. I think you just said ours is about 30% below average for the electricity. So basically what I told Senator Johnson was, I'm here, sir, because what we have is working, and I'm afraid someone in Washington will get a great idea and try to fix it. It's working. Some of the things we talked to them about, I would like Mr. Gall to address really quickly. You said, to both of our senators, you talked about FEMA's role in all of this. Can you touch on that?
Sure. So FEMA's been a hot topic as far as eliminating. That's a big deal for storms and electric. And Wisconsin's known to send a lot of folks to Florida. And as far as this utility, if we were to send somebody, it would be if we're going to get reimbursed, is the big question. So that was a hot topic of how the restoration could go if communities throughout the country don't send folks to restore power if the FEMA dollars aren't there. The 4 other points that we were talking about, obviously, we've talked about data centers and the affordability of power, the reliability of power, permitting for transmission lines. A lot of renewables were put to the west of us that need to get back here, and all the permitting and the timing that it takes just to get the permitting done. And out west, because it was a national lobby event as far as the wildfires out west, vegetation control and things to make sure that states are taking care of their land to mitigate fires. Those were the 5 topics that we talked about.
Okay, thank you very much. And I would like, for a minute, I would like to get the microphone to John Collins. There you go. John, you mentioned when we were out there, you talked about, again, what happens if a community helps out and FEMA's late on money. And you also talked about, I believe, bonds being tax exempt. You remember saying those things?
Yes.
Would you please tell the public why those things are big concerns to you? Because he did a great job 3 times. In Van Orden's office, in front of Mr. Johnson, in front of Ms. Baldwin. John was great 3 times. Go ahead, John.
So our financing, when we have major projects, and I believe we have a transformer that's going to be changed out in the next year or so, and it's $2.5 million. It is not cash we have in our bank, so we're going to have to probably borrow. And the financing for years has been offset for utilities by low interest rates or no interest rates. And there have been a contingency in Washington over the last 8 years that have looked at this and said, well, they should pay what everybody else pays. And our argument is we're public power. We're not the wealthiest people in the world here in our community, in our county. And why would you want to saddle us with more debt that we'd have to pass on to our citizens? And so I think at this point that the 2 senators are well aware of that. And Van Orden's office is now aware of it. And so, you know, to me it's hands off when it comes to, you want to help us, then just leave that part alone. Allow us to borrow $2.5 million so that we can put in this transformer for reliable power here, but don't make us tack on $400,000 worth of interest that we have to pass on to our citizens. So the bond part is very, very important to us being able to borrow money at a low cost for a long term, and I like that. The other thing that we did talk about was nuclear, because right now, I believe they're called SMRs, small modular reactors. And so they have them currently that our city could operate with one, and that building would be just a little bigger than City Hall's footprint and be able to run our whole utility. And so it's coming. It's probably 10, 12 years down the road. But I wanted them to be aware that that part of research and money for grants is going to be very important for communities like us down the road, so that we can have reliable power that we can manage and then sell back to the other utilities. And so my goal would be that possibly Richland Center might become a pilot program, and we could get one of those sooner than anybody else and show the world that it can work today, because the argument is we've had it in our military for years, and you know that lawyers, they like to sue and make money that way. Well, there hasn't been a group of soldiers come and say, I was on this ship for 10 years and I now have all these illnesses from the nuclear power plant that sent me around the world, because it's that safe. And we've met enough people that do that kind of stuff, that they've come up with these small modular reactors. And so that's one thing that I'm a little passionate about, as you can tell.
It's not that you said that, the way you said that, John used his nuclear-powered submarine story. He said that to both Senator Johnson and Senator Baldwin, and both of them agreed with him. So there may be bipartisan support for this stuff as we roll toward the future. Anything else you wanted to add about what we saw ordered in DC, John?
Just that having our mayor there is really important, representing your city. And so I was so proud of how I got to sit back on this one. When I went with Rod, he pushed me in front all the time, you know. And you're going to watch this, Rod. And so I wanted Scott and Todd to spearhead most of the conversation, and they did very well, very, very well. Thank you.
Thanks, John and Scott. Okay, the only other thing I'll say on that, we were all taken aback. The security measures in Washington DC, as this event was planned, well, it's planned a year in advance, and then the president chose the Tuesday we were there for the State of the Union address. So the security measures in DC were pretty remarkable. And what I wanted people to hear about that is 3 or 4 times we did encounter National Guard troops that were just patrolling. They were all in full uniform and everything. They were not carrying rifles, but they're otherwise full gear. And we saw them a few times, Capitol Police plenty of times, and the number of uniformed Secret Service personnel is over the top. And what I wanted everybody to know, despite all of that and all of the barricades and things that were up, if you can imagine, we never had all of the law enforcement we encountered, no matter what branch. They were always respectful and polite. We saw no confrontations. Given today's partisan, tense atmosphere, and given how much security was in place, I'm a little bit amazed that it went as smoothly as it did, because I didn't see, there were protesters around, but they were respectful and polite. There was law enforcement everywhere. They stayed respectful and polite. And then just I'll close with, if you've never been to DC, fix that, you need to see it. Okay, moving on. Next up will be the treasurer's report, which is in your package review. If you have any questions, please ask those.
It's your turn next for the utility.
It looks good. Utility's good. Treasurer's report's good, the utility.
Any questions or comments regarding the treasurer's report? If no questions or comments, I'll move forward to payment of the bills. And while the council reviews those bills, read the following. The bills presented on this day, excluding any library fund invoices, having been referred to the Finance and Budget Committee, and said committee having duly investigated and audited these bills, hereby make the following recommendation. That the city bills presented on this day be paid with the following adjustments and or exceptions. There are no adjustments or exceptions. It is signed by the members of the Finance Committee. Once you've had a moment to read those bills, entertain a motion to pay them.
Motion to approve the bills.
Motion from Mr. Cairns. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second from Ms. Schultz. Any discussion of the bills? Okay, hearing none, we'll need a roll call, please.
Cairns,
Aye.
Fruit,
Aye.
Tepley,
Aye.
McCarthy, Schultz,
Aye.
Walters,
Aye.
Marchnik,
Aye.
motion carried.
Okay, items for discussion and possible action. Item 5, public hearing on proposed zoning amendment to Chapter 400 relating to planned unit developments. Jason, do you want to introduce the topic? Why is this on the agenda tonight, sir?
Microphone, please. So you can see in your packet that you've got an agenda item data sheet that outlines this clearly. Background is our Chapter 400 of recorded ordinances govern zoning and land use. Yep. Yeah, I think we'll introduce it and then we can have a hearing so people understand what it's about. So this is, again, specifically a revision of 400, which governs zoning and land use regulations within the city, including standards for planned unit developments. The PUD district is intended to provide flexibility in site design through unified site planning while preserving city discretion and oversight. Our section 400-0421C2 currently includes an absolute prohibition stating that planned unit developments may not consist of a single city lot. That will be a challenge in the future as we look, for example, towards the redevelopment of the campus, which currently consists of 70 acres, and we may have developers that come in and say, hey, I'd like to do multiple buildings on a 5-acre piece of that campus, hypothetically. So what we're doing is we're trying to make sure that this ordinance, again called planned unit development, is flexible and offers the city as well as developers an opportunity to be able to design to high density standards, to be most efficient, to make sure that environmentally we're doing things proper. And it's easier to do it sometimes through a PUD district, which gives us flexibility and the ability to negotiate and talk about things versus what's currently in our ordinance. The conflict that I've mentioned has created ambiguity in interpretation and has a potential to force unnecessary subdivision or lot configuration changes solely to satisfy ordinances form rather than planning intent. So that's kind of a general overview. There's two proposed ordinance amendments. They're both listed there. One is to amend the definition of planned unit development, section 400.0326B, to change it from a large-scale development consisting of more than one lot or parcel to a development consisting of one or more lots or parcels. So a large-scale development consisting of more than one lot or parcel, change that to a development consisting of one or more lots or parcels. The second one is amend section 400.0421C2, lot area width, where there's a definition. We would change it from lot area and width. It is anticipated that a planned unit development will consist of an area of several city lots to several city blocks. Under no circumstance shall a planned unit development be permitted to consist of any single city lot. Again, if we have a single city lot that's 5 acres and we want to do multiple types of development within it, we are restricted and confined by what we're able to do by our current definitions for things like commercial or light commercial or residential, multifamily, R1, R2, R3, whereas a planned unit development allows you to look at all of that together, so it's a much better planning tool. We would want to change it to lot area and width. A planned unit development will typically consist of an area of several city lots to several city blocks. A planned unit development may consist of a single city lot, provided the proposal demonstrates unified site planning, adequate infrastructure capacity, and compliance with the approval criteria of this section. So that's an introduction of the topic. I don't know if there's questions, but there's public hearing.
We will get to that. So this is a public hearing, so the way this works, if you would like to speak and address the council on this topic, we'll get you the microphone. Please just stand, introduce yourself, and limit your comment to 3 minutes if you would, please. So first request, is there anyone who would like to address the council during this public hearing regarding the proposed zoning amendment to chapter 400 relating to planned unit development?
It's a comment on planned unit development zoning.
Okay. And I am legally required to ask that question 3 times. So second request, is there anyone who would like to address the council during the public hearing on proposed zoning amendment to chapter 400 relating to planned unit development? Okay, third request, is there anyone who would like to address the council during the public hearing on proposed zoning amendment to chapter 400 relating to planned unit development? Okay, hearing none, then at this point I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing on proposed zoning amendment to chapter 400 relating to planned unit development. Motion from Ms. Tuffy, is there a second? Second. Second from Mr. McCarthy, is there discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Public hearing is closed. Okay, item 6, ordinance amendment, chapter 400, as Jason just explained. So where this has come, 2 conversations I've been in, and they've been over about the last 2 years. They were not connected at all. Where this topic came up as, should we look at this? Jason just mentioned the campus property. It's pretty complex. It's a big parcel, and there's a lot going on out there. So there's some land that can't be developed because a grant was accepted in 1981. So a section of that area can't be built on. There's a lot of floodplain. Can't do that. The county owns it, it's in the city, and the Simon Center is there, and it's right down the hill from the school district, which will soon own 2 buildings. Nothing to talk about here. There's a lot going on. So the county is working with some advisors to come up with a proposal, an idea of what to do with basically the area where the buildings have always stood, because obviously that's not floodplain or they wouldn't be there. And those aren't the buildings the school district wanted and so on. So, as Jason said, what if somebody wants a little bit of this or maybe that over there? This just provides flexibility. The other time this was discussed briefly, Jason and I and Ashley in Jason's office, was probably close to 2 years ago when a gentleman purchased Jefferson Elementary from the school district, and he said, well, I'm gonna buy it, but I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. And his words, can I get out of jail free zoning? No. That was a short answer, no. But what the reason he asked the question was because what if I want to put some residential over there, some offices down here, maybe lease to a dentist or a lawyer, and how could we do that so that things like that could fit? It's a city block, but how do you make that so that every time he wants to sign another lease, he wasn't down here? And that's why we talked about this. And this is just to make this easier, to be honest, so that when businesses or whatever want to come to town, we've got another tool that allows more of this to happen without as much bureaucracy, in my own words. The council, any questions or comments on this? Do you understand the purpose of a planned unit development, or would you like further explanation?
I think I need a little more.
You want more explanation? Okay, so the reason that you would do this, my layman's terms definition, and I'll let Mr. Wendell give you the lawyer's definition. Layman's terms, as I just explained, so Doug Martinick comes down with Martinick LLC, wants the campus property. Well, if you go by our current zoning, the way the ordinances are written, they're pretty rigid. You might need some flexibility because you're redeveloping an area that's currently encumbered, going to need demolition of some buildings, and then you're drawing up a game plan. This just makes it easier to work with the city, to be honest. I don't know a cleaner way to say that.
It allows flexibility in development planning. There are a variety of ownership structures that a developer could potentially pursue. Our ordinance as it's written currently narrows that to one particular path. This would just open that up. So the council would still retain all its zoning authority. They would still have to come here, explain to them why they need this particular zoning. It just makes this particular application feasible or legal.
One example.
I was just gonna add that this is just an example, another example we have in our zoning code of where in the past, at whatever time, the city had opted to be more restrictive than what the state requires.
Right.
So the state already prescribes this in the statute, and so we've taken that and said, we accept the statute, but we're gonna make it a little bit more restrictive or put more rules in place.
So one example I've seen several times online, some new communities, new neighborhoods that have an HOA, homeowners association, they use these because they sort of build according to their plan, again, approved by the city. But it might not be what they want to build, might be just a little bit different than if you were building a row of houses. So rather than an extra several layers of public hearing this, meeting that, it just makes it easier to do it. Again, with the oversight, the city still maintains the oversight and the approval process that it has now. That's the idea of doing this. Just give some flexibility into zoning without taking away the city's control. How's that, Mike? Good? All right, I've been learning this. All right. Okay, any other questions or comments? No? Okay. And what we're looking for here, Jason, we're looking for the council. Are you looking for an adoption of this ordinance tonight?
Correct.
Okay, so the ordinance would be ordinance number 2026-03, an ordinance amending chapter 400 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Richland Center relating to planned unit developments, whereas chapter 400 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Richland Center is intended to promote orderly development and protect the public health, safety, and welfare. And whereas Chapter 400.0421, outlining the planned unit development provisions, is intended to allow flexibility in site design through unified site planning while preserving city discretion and oversight. And whereas the Common Council finds that an absolute prohibition on single lot planned unit developments may, in limited circumstances, conflict with the purpose and intent of the planned unit development district. And whereas the Common Council finds that clarifying that a planned unit development may consist of one or more lots or parcels while retaining approval criteria, serves the public interest, and maintains the integrity of the city's zoning framework. Now therefore be it ordained by the Common Council of the City of Richland Center, Richland County, Wisconsin, as follows. Section 1, Section 400.0326B of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Richland Center is hereby amended to read as follows. B, Planned Unit Development, or PUD. A development consisting of one or more lots or parcels which permits alternative standards for development as defined in Section 400.0421 of the ordinances of the City of Richland Center. It is individually granted to the new owner or developer by the City Council after completion of all studies, review, and public hearings on the application therefore, which are required by this zoning ordinance. A planned unit development shall be deemed to run with the land. Section 2, Section 400.0421C2 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Richland Center is hereby amended to read as follows. 2, lot area and width. A planned unit development will typically consist of an area of several city lots to several city blocks. A planned unit development may consist of a single city lot, provided the proposal demonstrates unified site planning, adequate infrastructure capacity, and compliance with the approval criteria of this section. Section 3, no other changes except as expressly amended herein. All other provisions of Chapter 400 shall remain in full force and effect. Section 4, repeal of conflicting provisions. All ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith are hereby repealed. Section 5, severability. If any provision of this ordinance is held invalid, such invalidity shall not affect the remaining provisions. Section 6, effective date. This ordinance shall take effect upon passage and publication as provided by law. Assuming they vote in favor, this would be adopted by the Common Council of the City of Richland Center the third day of March 2026. Any questions or comments after I read all that to you? And if not, I'll entertain a motion to adopt ordinance number 2026-03 as read.
Motion to adopt ordinance 2026-3, amending chapter 400 relating to planned unit development as presented.
Motion from Ms. Schultz, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second from Mr. Fruit. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll need a roll call.
Schultz? Aye. Walters?
Aye.
Martinek?
Aye.
Cairns?
Aye.
Root?
Aye.
Tepley?
Aye.
McCarthy? Motion carried.
Yep, motion is carried. All right. Next up, item 7, Innovative Public Advisors, IPA Simon's Recreation Complex Assessment. Who's going to take that one? Darcy's got that one, all right.
Sure, so in your packet you'll see kind of a high-level overview. I'm not going to go through it all because we do have innovative public advisors on teams to go through the presentation. But essentially they have the metrics of the evaluation of 5 governance models. You'll remember that this was authorized in October for from council to contract IPA to complete this assessment of the Simon's Recreation Complex based on our DOR Innovation Planning Grant. So I'm going to swap over to our teams here and let Jess take over here.
Awesome. Thank you, Darcy. Can you guys hear me okay?
You can.
Great. I'm Jess Wiles, the partner of Innovative Public Advisors, and I'm joined here tonight by my colleague, Craig. Craig, do you want to introduce yourself briefly?
Sure. Craig Hempner. I was the Parks and Recreation Advisor, spent 34 years in the field of Parks and Recreation, and it was a great process. So looking forward to sharing some of our information that we learned.
Yeah. Thanks, Craig, and thank you all for having us here tonight. We really appreciate you. We have really enjoyed working with your team throughout this process over the last 4 months and really getting to know everything there is to know about Simon's and Richland Center and Richland County and how it all works together. We've learned so much, and one thing in particular that we've learned is just what an amazing community asset you have, and your community clearly supports it. and wants it to continue in the future. And so part of what we were challenged to do, and we were thankful that you chose to work with us, is to kind of look at that detailed level of the operational structure of Simons and what might make sense as a model moving forward that's operationally sustainable, financially, and continues to carry on all the things that makes it so special for your community. So we took a really proactive approach to this study itself. I just want to be sure you can see our screen. Can you see that?
Yes.
Good. Sorry?
Yes,
We can see it.
Oh, great. Okay. Well, we'll just talk through, we're kind of hoping to talk through at a high level our process, the community engagement that took place, the peer comparisons that we did for comparable facilities, and financial analysis, and then our recommendations for moving forward. So if you can see at the screen, there's a shot here from when we very first kicked off the project at City Hall. And there's your lovely team and people we've gotten to know well throughout this process. And the document that you have is extensive. So I believe it's about 63 pages, and you'll have that available to you moving forward to really dive into the metrics. But what we've learned throughout the way is that in sort of an incredible 90% of your entire community, this is surveying your Richland County residents as a whole, consider this facility important. The members, even more so, 98.7% responded to a survey saying that Simons is important. And that's really key moving forward in making your choices, because you could choose to just move on it and sell it and do something else, and that's not one of our recommendations. That's not something we explored, because it does have so many valuable components to it for your community. So we took an approach by starting off small, kicking off the project with your team, and doing an initial SWOT analysis on site and learning more about the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats that face the facility today. That then took us to move on to have more of a couple things that took place. We explored all of the data, the documents, the contracts, everything that goes into the Simons operationally, understanding the membership, the visitation, the costs, any deferred maintenance costs, and also then having interviews with members of the board, members of your community, the county, city, the staff, and moving into really starting to get into this community engagement portion. So before we talk about the comparable facilities, which is what Craig is going to dive into, I'll talk a little bit about how your community was engaged and how their voices have been heard throughout this process. And that really helped us inform some of the recommendations that we have tonight. We put together a Project Blandings website called futuresimons.com, and it included all the information about the planning grant, the process, the city and the county proactively moving forward and studying this, and really looking at a long-term solution for the facility. It included information about public information sessions and ways to be involved through mainly a community survey, which we do have as an appendix to this document here. I believe it's on page 52. We jumped into, I'm going to jump a few pages, into the stakeholder engagement. We had a number of meetings and visits to the site. Our other team member, Jay Shambo, he's a partner of Innovative Public Advisors, visited several times and had interviews with several of you because we wanted to really gain as much information as possible. The survey that was sent out, we actually had two. One was a community survey that was sent to Richland County registered voters and residents, and then the other was to active members of Simons. And you'll see all that data within the report. We also hosted a public input session earlier this winter at the gym right across the way from Simon's, and had a great turnout. A variety of individuals showed up of different ages and perspectives. And we also assisted several individuals who maybe don't have a computer at home with completing the online survey. And if you can see here, there's a picture of the mosaic that was put together, a picture of the public input session. Craig, if you wanted to jump in and maybe talk about moving into the assessment of the facility itself and the comparisons.
Yes. So good evening, everyone. Thank you again for having us. This was definitely a unique process. The facility itself is very unique. And I think everybody should be very proud of what you have, because we have done many, many comparisons. And from what you offer as far as programs, to the great staff you have, to the financial stability, it's certainly one of the better run facilities we've been able to come across. So congratulations on that. So I want you to start out with very positive that you're doing great work there in Richland Center, and keep up the great work. So highlights, and again, as Jess mentioned, there's appendix with the information from the surveys, but both through the surveys and our own diligence, the programming was a highlight. People really appreciate the programming, whether it's swim lessons, fitness classes, the facilities themselves, they appreciate. The staff got really, really high marks. So I don't know if they're up for raises yet, but both Mike and Al and their part-time team are doing great work in a short period of time. I know they've only been there less than 2 years. So congratulations and keep up the good work. Also, the membership at around 2,000 is very strong for your size of community at 5,000. So that's an excellent piece. As far as the facility, I know everybody talks about it. People are very happy with the pool. They're very happy with the fitness equipment. It's very operational and safe, but obviously with a 40-year facility, it is aging, and that's probably the biggest thing looking to the future is capital projects and capital investment. So it's something we'll talk about coming up in a little bit, but that's overall the building's very efficient as space. There's not any wasted space, including office space, so congratulations on being very efficient. Financially, as far as operational costs, I know there's a subsidy of approximately $100,000, rough numbers, but looking at the 2025 budget, we actually have a $17,000 surplus. So that's not easy to obtain these days. When you're trying to keep costs low for members, you're trying to infuse new programming, you're paying staff better wages, etc. So with the subsidy, yes, you're meeting, you're at least breaking even, or you're slightly into the black. So that's very positive, but also it shows the importance of a subsidy. So at $100,000, which, as I'll show you in a second, compares to other places, is actually fairly low overall, but it's still a very important piece, because obviously if you don't have the subsidies from both the county and city, then we're talking something different about not black numbers, but red numbers. But we've looked at what things can be, little tweaks to budgeting and program fees and classes, etc. But again, Mike and Kyle are doing a very good job and make it very efficient. So there's not a lot that you can do to bring, raise $500,000 or something. I also want to, before I get into the peer comparison, which I was going to next, just a quick shout out to the foundation members. I spent a lot of time with Al and Dean and some of the other foundation members to talk about what the Science Foundation is and where they've come from, and they're doing great work. And it's an important piece. They're very energetic. I know they've had a very successful recent capital campaign. It's a very important supplemental piece to all of this, and they themselves know there's more room to grow and more things to be done. I know they're looking into an endowment fund and other things, but keep up that work, because it is a very important piece of the future for Simons. Okay, so let's jump into peer evals. We were tasked to come up with at least 3 similar facilities to compare lots of different stats to and things. We actually went and did 6. I think that's important to know, because we really tried to find places that were similar size as far as population, similar types of facilities that had pools and fitness, and then a diverse mix of how they're operated and owned and run. So as I go through these, I'll explain what they all are. So Bloomer up north is strictly a 501c3. It's very similar size to Simon's, but they have a couple keys to it. One, they do a lot of internal fundraising for the community, and also you can see that name on the right side of the picture, Physical Therapy and Fitness Center. They have rent from them and a few other offices, so the rent is really a big driver of the revenue. It's very unique. I haven't seen that in any other place. So that's the way they can make it. But if they didn't have the rent and they didn't have people collecting aluminum cans and selling things at flea markets, no lie, they would not be in the same financial situation as they are. The next one we'll move to is Lunda. That's in Black River Falls. That one is an amazing facility. It's a town of only 3,000 people, but the Lunda Foundation paid for the entire project, and they have a huge subsidy. Their budget is $2.2 million a year, and $1 million comes in from that foundation. So as you can see, it's great. It has fantastic facilities, big into fitness, pools, etc. And they're very high-end. It's only a 10-year-old facility, but again, they're receiving a lot of money from their foundation, and because of that, they have not raised fees for their clients since they opened 10 years ago. The next one is Cambridge. This one is a little unique. It's a school district, but also a 501c3 nonprofit combined. But the school district subsidizes about 60% of it. So they also have a pool in an elementary school. They have a small fitness center. They do nice work with it, but it's a combination of a school district, Fund 80, and also a 501c3. The fourth one we'll go to is the Tag Center. This is in Mayville, Wisconsin. Probably one of the more little similar to Simon's that we can draw conclusions to. They do have some large gymnasium facilities, which is a little different. This is strictly city run, and they have about $165,000 subsidy per year. They have a family pool, they have lanes, they have their fitness center. Very nice facility. They built this in 2002. They've done a remodel in 2017, but it's very, again, a small community, 3,000 people, but doing well. But again, they have $165,000 subsidy, and they also ask a foundation that originally built it for money every year. We looked at Sauk Prairie because it's very close to you folks, and it's just for the public, the pool facilities, both the lap lanes and the one water pool. So not fitness for public, but really good to see. This came from a referendum, and they spent some good coin on this, $12 million to the aquatic center and facilities, locker rooms, etc. It is strictly school district related. So all the money operationally, other than program fees, capital, all comes through the school district. And then finally, the sixth one is Whitewater. And Whitewater was the largest community we looked at. Part of that includes, they have a nice, obviously, university there. But similar, they have two pools, an 8-lane lap pool, which you can see there is the family pool, and then a nice fitness center. They are city and school together, so something a little different. So again, looking at all these facilities, we looked at one that was city-run, one that was school-run, one that was a combination of city and school, one that was a combination of school and 501c3, one that was a 501c3 that only did a lot of fundraising and rents, and then a large foundation that supported their other foundation, or their facility. So we tried to look at all these different facilities and compare it as best we could. Mike has a nice little spreadsheet of all these stats we put together. But it really kind of opened our eyes to what the good, the bad, and how things work. So I want to thank Mike, Kyle, Al, and Dean because they joined me on a number of these tours, and we found some of the best cafes in all of Wisconsin. All right, so we move on. We want to talk about 5 models that could be in the future for operation and ownership. Obviously, the current model is the city and the county work together on it. And Jess mentioned one that we did not include was closing Simon's when you have 98% of the members are super high on the facility, and even 73%, even non-members, think it's a very important piece of the community, we're not going to close it. So, first one that the model we will look at is going to the school district. So moving governance right to the school district. That would be part of what they call Fund 80, which is for community recreation programs and facilities. It still gets added to a tax levy, but it gets outside of which you're restricted through the state. That's why Fund 80 is it's not as restrictive as normal funding and is very possible. So that would be one strong one to look at. We also, when we spoke in our interviews with staff and board members and council members, the school district was pointing to as one of the most important potentials. The second one, and we have lots of strengths and challenges, and in this document, as just mentioned, it's over 60 pages, so I'm not going to bore you with that. There's always positives and negatives in any of these ownerships. Some might mean more and be better for you, but school district was one. Second one was private entity ownership. It could be sold and run as completely private. Obviously, that takes any of the funding off of the city and the county, but it will definitely change fee structures, and you lose a lot of control of the facility. So if the owner then, unless you have some real ironclad agreement, if the owner decides to close up shop, then it goes away. So something to be careful about, but possible. Non-profit ownership. And I'll throw out the YMCA, because some people call it a profit one, some call it non-profit. It kind of mixes into Model 2 and 3. So the YMCA is a possibility. I know they've been interested, or at least have talked to the city before about possibilities, but I don't think that's gone anywhere. And they probably are a little too far away in Madison or La Crosse to be really close to it. So the other part of nonprofit could be the foundation, or a foundation that would be more of a similar to Lunda or the one up in Bloomer. The big caution I have for that, one, it obviously takes away the funding from the city and the county, their responsibility, and operationally you can probably live there for a while. But again, we talk about capital costs being very important, and they're coming down the line very quickly. That's really hard for a nonprofit to deal with if they don't have a foundation like Lunda that has $80 million in their foundation. So it's just something we have to be very careful about looking for the future. The fourth one is a model that certainly is possible. I was going to say this at the beginning, please keep an open mind as we go through this, because we're tasked with coming up with all the different options. Current ownership is city and county. That's status quo. It has worked for a number of years. Financially, it might not be where you want to be, but it is one possibility if that's really where you want to go. So we just want to make sure that you have that there. Which leads into number 5. It could jump to just the city or just the county. Again, financially, probably not where either of them want to be. And I could say structurally, sure, you put it to the city because they already have an outdoor pool and they have a community center, and it makes sense, but financially it doesn't. The county looks at it like, we don't have parks and recreation, so it's a little odd to do that way, but that certainly is a possibility. So those are really the 5 main models we've looked at. There are a couple of additions that are coming up, I think in a few pages, but whoever owns it, you could look strongly at a partnership like Boomer does with the rehab facility. So whether that's bringing more customers in, whether that's bringing in money or memberships, rehab, hospital, regional centers, things like that is possible. And then also potentially getting bulk memberships through either companies that they want to sign up a lot of their employees for, or the school district goes and does this, or the hospital or somebody like that. There's many ways to try and bring in revenue, but those are not your ownership pieces. That's just additional supplemental. Okay, Jess?
Yeah, thanks, Craig. Well, just to provide some, context here, we provided information here that is meant to be informational, and so that you can see that there are several different models. They're not necessarily recommendations. They are to show you what is possible, what could exist, but it really depends on how they're structured. And so with what we have today, if we're looking at long-term and also levy reducing recommendations, we're probably looking at exploring the first 3 models more intentionally than models 4 and 5, which are the ones that are in the model that's currently in place, or a single entity with the city or county, because that provides a lot of burden on your already limited levy compared to the other potential models. So we, as part of this process, we explored the different models, which we just talked through and have a lot of information for you to read through. But then we also did a financial analysis exploring sort of how the models might work. So, and looking at the facility today. So you can see the annual subsidies that each of the municipalities are providing at this time is a little over $100,000, which is a lot of, it's, you know, a lot in terms of the total budget and operating for this facility. We also looked at a 10-year financial modeling, comparing the different models themselves, and looking at some sort of baseline assumptions of membership growth, potential annual fee adjustments, if, you know, but also taking out any kind of major facility expansion, just to have some baseline numbers to be able to do some sort of simple projections here. To give you a look at what it might look like if you went with the school district model for the next 10 years, what that is in terms of cost and subsidy over that time. The same, and what that might actually look like to a taxpayer. So, you know, what does $100,000 in the school district Fund 80 look like for a taxpayer in the school district? It's approximately $21.76 a year for a $250,000 property. So we did all of that analysis here, and then we can talk through that in more detail if you'd like to ask some questions. But it really comes down to long-term sustainability, financial sustainability, and operational sustainability. At this point in time, it really needs about $100,000 subsidy to continue to operate as it is today. Whether that's city, county combined, the school, you know, the total operating costs are, we're looking at about that number. We have some comparisons here. But there are some really positive opportunities for you to fill that gap and you know, be able to offset revenues. And I know that, I think it's just a few pages here. Craig mentioned earlier, there's some opportunities for medical and rehabilitation partnerships. You know, like the one model has even a rental in there of physical therapy. Perhaps you could work with the local hospital to provide additional space there for certain rehabilitation programs. We also really explored the idea of larger employer membership programs where, you know, some of your private employers might purchase 100 memberships. That's a pretty significant amount of cash, you know, and a pretty significant amount of people using the facility, interested in it, and maybe also willing to support it financially through a fundraising campaign if there is a capital need. The taxpayer impact analysis is something that we also did to sort of show, and we touched on it a bit, how much the estimated annual impact is currently for the amount that you're subsidizing based on equalized value. So we didn't do it based on your budget, we did it based on equalized value for the city, for the county, and for the school, just so you have a sense of what it is and what the impact is. So currently with the city's subsidy of $53,960 for a property that's worth about $250,000, it's $28.80. Moving down to the county, it's $6.28. You know, it's a much more expansive area than just the city itself. And then we also did the same for the school district, looking at more of a $100,000 Fund 80 impact on the school district equalized value. So they're all kind of a little bit different boundaries and individuals who would actually be paying that subsidy each year. Kind of jump ahead. So there's a couple things. As we look toward recommendations and the key findings, there's a really one-time opportunity that is here and available to Richland County and Richland Center. It's called the Innovation Grant Opportunity. This particular study was funded through this program's planning grant. So there was an innovation planning grant that was available to municipalities of 5,000 in population or less, which our team proactively received, and give you kudos for doing so. That's awesome. And that was able to fund a study like this, to examine the operational structure. So that study, the analysis that we've done, is fully funded by the grant program, and it feeds into what's really considered the implementation portion of the innovation grant. And the timing is a bit urgent, but it is possible to be able to obtain up to 25% of the annual operating expenses back in unrestricted funding by initiating a service transfer. And what that means is, and what we're recommending, is really the county and city working with the school district to transfer the operations of Simons to the school district. And that would be made possible through an intergovernmental agreement that needs to actually take place over the next couple of weeks, which we would be happy to assist with. And also willing partners, which we do believe you have. We've been in contact with the school superintendent and Trish at the county and others, and it seems that there may be an interest to explore this, at the very least, as an option, because you're looking at some pretty significant funding, which would really help offset any cost for the school over the next 5 years. Your current, in 2025, operating expenses were $478,000. So Richland County would be likely the lead applicant on the grant application, with the support of the city, and of course moving on with a different type of arrangement for the assignments versus what you have today. If you were to apply by the end of this month, which is when the deadline is, you could be receiving just under $120,000, that's 25% of your expenses, for 5 years. That could be transferred to the school to offset what the subsidy would have been needed, essentially, to cover those costs. And that would alleviate the county and the city from additional expenditures. It would immediately, essentially, relieve the city from the $53,000 tax burden that you currently have that supports the operations. And then moving forward, that would provide a 5-year amount of time for the school district and you as partners to help, figure out a long-term sustainability for this, and to be operating with the Fund 80, which would be very helpful too. So this is something that we are strongly recommending that you explore, and it is this one-time opportunity through the Wisconsin Department of Revenue that's become very exciting, but also time is of the essence. So we'd be happy to assist you with that. Outside of that, which is our primary recommendation for you to look into now, it's financially advantageous and you seem to have a great path. We do have other recommendations within the study. We looked at the 5 different models that we believe have definitely pros and cons, certain feasibility depending on revenue sources and political will, but really exploring models 1, 2, and 3 as your primary models at this point, because they are not reliant on levy. You may have some expenses in the future with them depending on ownership. If maybe you do end up moving forward with a private entity, then there may be an agreement in place where you offset the cost of membership to make it affordable for your residents. That's something that might cost money in the future, but likely not nearly what it is today. So we encourage you to first explore the innovation grant by working with the school, and then either after applying or if you choose not to, then really recommend exploring models 1, 2, and 3 based on really what your desires are for the facility long term. And we've provided some sort of steps in how you can establish what the process looks like and utilize the information within the study and make informed choices that really fit with your vision for assignments moving forward. We do have an implementation strategy that's outlined here depending on the model that you move forward, and then sort of further let's say punctuation on what our recommendations are for you to move forward. So I think that's probably enough words from Craig and me at this point. We do have, like you said, an appendix here that includes all of the data from your community members and the members of the Simons. Lots of information, really positive, and even some that is a little bit more, I wouldn't say critical in nature, but letting you know, they'd really like to see maybe some investment in future locker rooms, things like that. And then also the SWOT analysis that took place on the center itself. So we have a comprehensive SWOT that really dives into, the facility itself and what it does well, and really kind of what's ahead that, is a threat. There could be a danger to its existence, and trying to get ahead of that. So again, we really appreciate you working with us, and it's been a pleasure working with your team and your community to come up with more of a long-term plan, or at least outlook for opportunities to be more financially and operationally sustainable with the Simons Recreation Complex. We're happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Questions or comments from the council? The innovation grant opportunity, when's the deadline on that?
It's March 31st.
Right, soon.
And the deadline for that, it's almost twofold. So the first step in that process for March 31st is the application, which consists of a few narrative questions that we could definitely assist you in crafting, but also budgets for the organizations transferring this to the school, for example, and then also the school's budget. And then the amount that would potentially be shared if awarded the grant. So the 25% of what the expenditures were the prior year, which 2025 is what's based off of who would get that funding. That funding is also unrestricted. And so it's something within an intergovernmental agreement that would be identified within there. And it's advantageous to put together a 5-year agreement at this point, because that unlocks 5 years of potential funding for you. If you move forward with applying and only have a 3-year, which is the minimum agreement, then you'll have to go forward again and try to apply in the future, which there's no promise that there will be any other future rounds even after this first one. After the 31st and that application and the intergovernmental agreement is included, which there will need to be action on that from most, if not all, of the governing bodies included, then by June 30th is when the actual transfer of services needs to occur by, in order to get a payment this year. Which you could get a payment this year, or the school could, where you would be able to retain your $53,000. So those that March 31st and June 30th date are the two really to be working from.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the council? Or Ashley, did you have anything you want to add? I know it's a lot of information and you've been reading through it too. But...
Yeah, I think they did a great job providing this presentation this evening with all of the amounts of information to go through. Tonight, as Jess has mentioned, there is going to, if the innovation grant is going to be pursued, action will need to occur from this council, which for the agreement between organizations, which doesn't necessarily need to occur this evening, but to meet that deadline, there would be, if that's the path pursued, a special session that would be necessary, because we don't have an agreement for you to review today.
Right.
But you could, if comfortable, based on the information you do have available, you could move to support pursuing that, or you could receive this as information and let things develop between the other meetings that will need to occur, and receive this information as well with the school and the county.
Yeah, okay, so to touch on that, so the city will need to meet with those two entities, or the three need to meet, however that works, because everybody has to be involved in this if we pursue that grant.
An agreement will need to be executed by each entity.
By each entity, okay, so as Ashley just pointed out, if the council believes that is a path we should pursue, you can state support for that tonight, or simply wait for more information, but we will, if we do that, and I actually like it quite a bit, if we do that, we will have to have a special session to approve all of this. That can't be changed. Anybody got any questions or comments from there? Do you want to talk more about this grant? Go ahead.
Yeah, just a question about the grant. So the innovation grant, are there any ties to it? Let's say after the 5 years, we decide to move it to private. Is there any payback that you have to do for the innovation grant like there are with some?
I'm not aware of it. Jess, are you aware?
And so after 5 years, you could move on to do something completely different, that there's no ties after that point. The one tie that I would say that there is that it cannot exceed a 15% increase in total expenses over the 5 years, and as a program. And so it's kind of an interesting component to it that it sounds like we're able to kind of work through pretty manageably. So essentially, you know, your total operating expenditures cannot exceed 15% from what it is today. So working to keep that within a reasonable amount each year for an increase. Now, that can be offset in different ways, and that's not something that I would be too terribly concerned about at this point, and anything that's really capital related could be separate from operations. But sure,
What's the likelihood that we get this grant?
And I would say if you get an intergovernmental agreement in place and submit it, the likelihood is very high.
And there's
They want to get this money distributed, and there's $300 million that are up for grabs at this point, and we believe that it will be undersubscribed, but also don't know how much so. We're working with a number of our clients and helping them achieve these funds and receive them.
When we applied for the innovation planning grant, you know, to be able to do this, we didn't know if we would end up applying for the innovation grant, so the second part of it. But we knew that we needed to get data in order to make informed decisions, this is helping us to do that. And I believe because we did the first phase through DOR with this completely new program, this is, you know, a new creation, they've never executed this program before, but because we went through this process, did the study, have the data to support action, that we have a more favorable position in receiving the award than another entity that didn't go through this first part yet.
Yeah, you do receive an extra priority point in the process for it, for having a planning grant in place.
Alan, did you have a comment?
I've got a question if I can ask
You
it.
can.
There's a March deadline of 2026.
Hold on.
Okay.
They can't hear you.
Yeah, that's fine. There's a March 2026 deadline to apply for this grant. Is there a March 2027 date to apply? Because it just seems awful rushed.
So they have not announced any other future dates for the funding. This is it. So if it is all awarded this time, then that's it. It's possible that there won't be full awards and that they may have future dates that become available. We don't know if they'll be in 2026 or if they'll be in 2027. What we do know is the date that is set now is one that they are dedicated to getting as much funding out as possible. We've been in direct contact with the DOR on their program and their urgency to release the funds. So agreed, it's a quick deadline. The process for this project, you know, wasn't necessarily driven by the implementation grant, but it is an opportunity that's definitely worth exploring.
I will add to that too, that they did not run the innovation planning grant again this year. So that's a consideration.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Questions or comments from the council? Okay, at this point, going forward, so I definitely want more information on the grant opportunity. And I guess, when do we think we could have everything ready to present to the council if they want to pursue it? Anybody can answer that?
I think it'll also depend on the timing of the school board's meeting and the county board's meeting. And
Right.
we do have the county administrator
I
here,
see
so
that.
maybe, Trish, what do you think?
We are adding this to our Executive and Finance Committee meeting next week, which is on the 10th, and then our full county board meeting is on the 17th, and we are hoping to have discussions real soon to talk about this possibility.
Well, we can't do it without their meetings anyway. So I guess the answer is, as soon as it can be ready, it will be ready. I think we should at least see this as it would be approved for the council's consideration. I just can't tell you when we'll have it yet. Anybody have anything to add to that or any objection to that? If we don't, that's all we can do for tonight, correct? We can't. Go ahead.
I guess for us, it just to clearly know that we are to work on getting that document drafted, working with the school and the county, and then the plan would be then to call a special session and
Yeah.
present the agreement for consideration.
I would say that is the direction. Do you want them to actually do a motion to tell you to do that?
They don't need to, I just want to make sure I understood.
That's, yeah.
And that's the consensus.
That's the consensus. That's what, nobody objected to that when I just asked. That is the consensus? That is the consensus. Okay, thank you, everybody, on that topic. Thanks for joining us
Thank
tonight.
you.
Yep. Okay.
Thanks, everybody.
You
Thanks,
bet.
Jazz, thanks, Craig.
Okay, next up, item 8, MOU for reunification with the Richland School District.
Sure, so Community Resource Officer Jared Wilson, in working with the school, he has been putting an effort to get a reunification plan before you all. He's gone over it with Steve Lord, with the school district, with myself and Billy, and so that reunification plan is in your packet this evening. And so this would be an agreement that the school district would be able to utilize a city facility in the event that they needed to have a location available for sheltering. That could be for any event, any safety event where they needed to relocate students and have an area where they could reunify with families, etc. And so the agreement in your packet outlines the terms of that agreement. It does identify the building by address, however, just for additional security purposes, that's been redacted from the packet. And so it's a very straightforward agreement. Attorney Windmill has reviewed it and approved what is written. So any questions about that, Billy or I would be glad to take.
Do you have anything you want to add, Billy?
Just that it's a very necessary step in our world today to have something like this in place.
If you needed an emergency shelter.
Correct.
Yeah, but I think that explains itself. Any questions on what we're talking about here? It's just the city giving them consent to use a facility that we own, and we redacted the address. And that probably is all the explanation you need, and it is all the explanation I'm going to give.
And I do want to just thank Officer Wilson for his work on this, and I think it's in his role as being a city employee but a community resource officer at the schools, it was helpful in this process. And it just makes communication and getting things like this done a lot easier than otherwise.
Great. Questions or comments? Okay. I'm not going to read this whole thing this time. It's not required that it is read, so I'm not going to do that. I'll just entertain a motion to approve the MOU for reunification with Richland School District.
So moved, Mayor.
Motion for Mr. Freer, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second for Mr. Martinek, is there discussion? I would like a roll call on that. Sorry about that, sorry.
It's fine. I'm sorry, let's start with Fruit.
Aye.
Tepley.
Aye.
McCarthy. Schultz.
Aye.
Walters.
Aye.
Martinek.
Aye.
Cairns.
Aye.
That one's carried. Item 9, resolution 2026-04, a resolution to combine municipal wards for voting purposes. Who wants to explain why this is on here, just so the council understands why we're doing it?
This resolution is required by statute to, if we're going to have one polling place for the election, so it's a pretty standard resolution.
Okay. Excuse me, City of Richland Center Resolution 2026-04, resolution to combine municipal wards for voting purposes. Whereas the Common Council of the City of Richland Center recognizes the need for efficient and effective management of electoral processes and in consideration of the benefits arising from streamlined operations. And whereas Wisconsin State Statutes 5.156B permits municipalities containing a population less than 35,000 to combine two or more wards containing the city districts for voting purposes. And now therefore be it resolved by the Common Council of the City of Richland Center, Richland County, Wisconsin, that all wards are hereby combined for voting purposes to share the common polling place, and such combined wards shall use common ballots, and separate returns shall not be maintained for the combined wards at any election, except where separate ballots are required under Wisconsin statutes 5.58 to 5.64, in which case separate ballots and returns shall be maintained for any elections of one or more of the combined wards who are ineligible to vote for any office or referendum for which other electors in the combined wards may vote. And be it finally resolved that upon passage, a certified copy of this resolution shall be transmitted to the county clerk within 5 days of its adoption, and that this resolution shall remain in effect for each election until modified or rescinded in accordance with Wisconsin statutes. I'll entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2026-04, resolution to combine municipal wards for voting purposes.
So moved.
Motion from Alderperson Schultz, is there a second?
A second.
Second from Mr. Fruit. Is there any discussion?
Have we done this before?
I don't know about ever. If Richland Center ever did, I don't know that.
I believe we did it last year, so it's nice to do them annually. You don't necessarily have to, but it's nice to keep them up to date.
But it says now, the one clause that says for whatever, further elections unless modified. So is this now just done for all the future elections as well, or will we be doing this every year?
This applies to all future elections, but we will be doing this every year, just to make sure that we're in compliance and up to date on it.
I think last year's resolution contained the same language, so technically it is still in effect, but I agree with Misty that it's good for the voters to know that we're doing everything according to statute.
Okay, thank you.
Good question, good answers. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, we'll need a roll call, please.
Schultz,
Aye.
Walters,
Aye.
Martinek,
Aye.
Kearns,
Aye.
Root,
Aye.
Dudley,
Aye.
McCarthy.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Okay, that puts us at Finance Committee recommendations for action. Mr. Ryan Kearns.
Number 10, radio building space agreement with Richland County. Finance met directly before council, and we have an MOU and some money to spend. And the finance recommended to council to approve that. But I'll let Billy speak a little bit about it, given open.
It's not on.
You have a Fitbit on, Billy?
All right, thank you, Mr. Cairns. So I guess just a little background, so this request is twofold. As Ryan mentioned, an MOU and then requesting to spend a little money. So just a little background, September 23, Richland Center Police Department radio repeater sustained a direct lightning strike and was damaged beyond repair. Because the repeater serves as a secondary system to the Richland County repeater, we don't use it all the time. So it kind of took us a little while to figure out that it was down, but once we did that, we made a request, filed an insurance claim, got the repeater replaced, and then all about the same time, Richland County the Sheriff's Department started their radio project where they were putting up new towers and doing a lot of switchovers. So we came up with an idea to move that repeater from the police department here and put it up in a radio building up on Tower Hill. Put the antenna up on the tower, get us more coverage, get us better coverage, make it safer, and extend our radio coverage for the officers working in the city, being able to talk to each other, talk to other jurisdictions, and so forth. So with that, I made a recommendation to Administrator Clements at the sheriff's, or at the Richland County, at the Richland County, and we worked on an MOU, started to gather information, put together an MOU, and then I asked her for money. So it's kind of the way it kind of went through. I asked her if we made this MOU, we put the unit up there, we would need some assistance with all the work that the county and the city did, working on agreements with US Cellular, putting the rental agreements and all this stuff. I thought it was a good idea to make that request with the radio project going up. Total cost of the repeater installation is $10,314.47. Richland Center Police Department budgets $5,000 a year for radio equipment, which this is. So I have $5,000 in my radio line. I guess my request from finance was, and passing on to council, is to also allow me to use, or to take an extra $5,314.47 to complete that cost, with the understanding that with the signing of the MOU and the agreement with the county has agreed to reimburse us that $5,314.47. So really no extra cost above what I already have budgeted in my radio budget will be spent. Will come out of city funds. So with the MOU, which is in your packet, and the language, which you guys can see and go over, my request is to approve Richland Center, or the police department, to spend the $10,314.47, and then recoup that from the county, the $5,314, and authorize the signing of the MOU.
That will be my motion.
Did you get that, Misty, or whoever's taking that?
Yeah.
Okay, motion from Mr.
I'll email it to you too.
Motion from Mr. Cairns, is there a second?
A second.
Second from Ms. Tetley, is there discussion? Okay, we'll need a roll call, please. Go. Billy, you want to run a roll call?
Can I do it without the microphone, or can't put Melanie's on?
That was a clue.
Thanks, Billy.
We need to.
Cairns.
Aye.
Brew.
Aye.
Tetley.
Aye.
McCarthy. Schultz.
Aye.
Walters.
Aye.
Martinek. Roll, motion carried.
Thank you. Number 11, community meal site agreements. Again, at finance, we approve this and recommend it to council. I'll let Jody speak since she went and got the mic.
Why not? Okay, after meeting with the ADRC manager and Health and Human Services director, the 2-year agreement that is current right now will expire December of this year. So we got going on that. Basically, the only thing that is really changing are the dates, January 2027 through December of 2028. And they, to account for a time when their milk delivery shows up, they're never really sure. It varies, so we change the hours from 8 a.m. till 7:45 a.m. so that we can account for that. So everything else is the same. We decided to keep the cost the same, and that was about it.
Questions or comments?
Motion to approve the meal site agreement.
There's the motion, is there a second?
A second.
Second from Ms. Tetley. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call, please.
Tepley?
Aye.
McCarthy? Schultz?
Aye.
Walters?
Aye.
Martinek?
Aye.
Kearns?
Aye.
Groot?
Aye.
Carried.
Okay, Public Safety Committee recommendations for action, Mr. Ron Fruit.
The Richland County Performing Arts Council is bringing back Leahy's Luck. It's the Irish Show. It will be Saturday, March 14th at the City Auditorium. It's an excellent program if you've not had a chance to attend. The Performing Arts Council has made an application for a temporary Class B retailer's license. It has been reviewed by Chief Jones and the Safety Committee, receiving approval. My motion is to approve for the Richland County Performing Arts Council their application for a temporary Class B retailer's license for Leahy's Luck Irish Show on Saturday, March 14th at the City Auditorium.
A motion from Mr. Fruit, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second from Ms. Schultz, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Appointment and confirmation committees, commission boards, there are none tonight. In about 6 or 7 weeks, whoever wins the mayoral election will have many. Okay. Let's see here. Appointment of poll workers, tabulators, chief inspectors, and emergency poll workers. A list of them has been provided to council. Don't need to read them all off. These are just the people that are volunteering to work the elections. And entertain a motion to approve the list as presented.
So moved.
Motion from Ms. Schultz, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second from Ms. Templey, any discussion?
Just one point, my name is listed on that sheet, and I think it should just at least be noted that I will not be there.
So I ran through, I found 3 candidates. I confirmed with the clerk and the administrator, because this covers multiple elections, as long as you don't go and participate in an election that you're on the ballot for, and that's fine, you're still qualified for other elections.
Good.
Which I didn't say out loud simply because he had already said that into my left ear.
I didn't hear that in my...
No, you didn't. Okay, so now that we've clarified that, and it is a fair point to point out. Okay, so we've got the motion and the second. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? One's carried. Now this is approved. Public comment. Suzanne Fish wants to talk to us about Race for Grace.
Those chairs kill me. It's on. Hi, it's me again. All right, with the message to encourage you all to support Race for Grace on Saturday, May 9th. Now there's a wise old saying. Good, better, best. Never let it rest till good is better and better is best. The first year was good. The second year was better. This is our 3rd year, so this is gonna be the first of the best with all of your support. The Grace fundraiser will be held at the Richland Center High School with all races starting and finishing on the track field. Excuse me. This is geared to be a family-friendly event offering run walks for all ages, and of course, the friendly 1-mile competition with our police department, fire department, and EMS, and they have to walk in their gear. Geez, I hope it's not hot. It was hot the first year, wasn't it? You can go to walkwithgrace.com or simply search for Race for Grace and you'll be directed to register. Don't forget to register by 11:59 p.m. on April 23rd. You're guaranteed a t-shirt and a swag bag. Or, notice my shirt? There's several shirts around town. So all you do is hit that QR code with your camera and it'll take you right to the site to get registered. Now you are able to register up to the point of the day of the race. It's not cut off on the 23rd, but it costs a little bit more and you're not guaranteed any t-shirt or swag bags, so just get on, don't dilly-dally and get right into it, okay? For you Grace team members, get signed up and your registration fee will be credited to your Grace team. You have to let your team captain know that you are participating in the race, and then your captain will be sure that the proper person gets credit to your team. So get on out there. I'm going to be on my team. I'm going to get on my team. So If you are not a runner or walker, you are able to, or not be able to be around on May 9th, you are able to support Race for Grace with a pledge, I'm sorry. And all runners, walkers have access to the pledge. So, you know, we have 3 great health fitness centers in our immediate area. And I personally met with Alyssa from Fitness 14, Spencer from Anytime Fitness, and Mike and Kyle from Simons. And they all approved their members to swap working out May 9th in their facilities to support the Race for Grace. So now it's gone public. I hope you're committed. Okay, if it's the quarter-mile kids run, if it's the 1-mile walk run, 5K or 3.5-mile trail run, let's get moving and help ward off some cancers and make Race for Grace 2026 the bestest yet. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I have one other here that has maybe written next to the name Sharon Schmidt. Sharon, did you want to address the council?
Yes.
Okay.
I apologize, I'm not going to be as entertaining as Suzanne was. I just want to thank the council and administration for their help and work during the last year. I understand it's not our last meeting, but I thought it was. But I wanted to thank you, and it's been great sitting in the peanut gallery just stalking you all. And I also would like to add that at the ambulance meeting, I want to compliment Ashley on her incredible presentation, and I hope all of you get involved with the ambulance. Come to those meetings. It's very informative, and the public does not know or understand what the dire need is, and I think we're going to have some letters to the editor, so I may be consulting Ashley to help me to do that. So again, thank you all for what you do, and that includes the table over there. Thank you.
Thanks, Sharon. Yes, sir. If you just introduce yourself so we know who's speaking.
Yeah, no problem. My name is John. Mayor, I'd like to address you. You've ignored my phone calls and haven't reached out to me to discuss complaints and other important things multiple times. You won't return my calls so we can schedule an appointment.
I'm going to stop you right there. There's the police chief. Billy, do you have anything you want to say to John?
Not if you're going to allow him to speak.
Well, I will let him finish, but you and I have discussed this.
I have 3 minutes.
You do have 3 minutes. My point to you is that I have addressed the situation with Billy and also with Sheriff Clay Porter and with Attorney Michael Wendell. If you'd like to wait after the meeting, I will sit and talk to you.
Can I finish what I was
Can I have
saying?
3 minutes?
Thank you, I appreciate that. So I'll start over again. You've ignored my phone calls and haven't reached out to me to discuss complaints and other important things multiple times. You won't return my calls so we can schedule an appointment, and you're never in your office during open office hours when I show up. I'd appreciate a phone call back so we can address these things respectfully and peacefully. Chief, I confided in you and you laughed at me behind my back and mocked me with other officers. This has ruined my trust with the police department even more than before. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Stay after the meeting. I'll talk to you some more. Okay, that's public comment. Next we have closed session, legal consultation regarding Panorama Estates and tax settlement non-compliance. So entertain a motion to go into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin Statute 19.851G, confirming with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is or is likely to become involved. Is there a motion to go into closed?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor of closed session, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That one's carried.